sauteed vegetables.
This episode of CVM Cookshop is sponsored by Grace Foods and IGL.
Where the difference is made. Where titles are decided. Where respect is earned. Excel here and you could go down in history. It's the final third. CVM TV's weekly JPL preview show every Sunday, starting 30 minutes before our live broadcast. Get insight, analysis, and hear from your favorite players weekly, just before we bring you our feature broadcast for the day. Move from defense to attack and join us in the final third. This and every Sunday until the end of the JPL season.
Jamaica, make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is 6.
The Economic Program Oversight Committee, EPOC, has ceased to be, making way for the Independent Fiscal Commission as Jamaica transition into a new form of oversight. But how well did EPOC do its job? How well did it carry out its function of being the hawkish watchdog of how governments manage the fiscal accounts and run the economy? Two men who were part of EPOC from the start 11 years ago, Keith Duncan and Donovan Wignall. They are with me today on Lead Story to talk about the EPOC journey, its successes, and what an organization like that means for the future of Jamaica's prudent fiscal management. Let's start Lead Story right now. In 2013, when the then PNP administration announced the formation of the Economic Program Oversight Committee, EPOC, there were many commentators who felt that, this was just another one of those committees, another one of those watchdogs that would turn out to do nothing. They would not be worth more than the paper that they were written on, and it was just another platform for some of the members to pontificate from. Well, 11 years later, and not many would argue against the success of EPOC, the Economic Program Oversight Committee. It has done a sterling job. And it came about at a time when the politicians or the political directorate was duty-bound to follow a disciplined line, to dispense with the wanton spending and the carelessness of the past. And so EPOC came at a time when the politicians knew they needed it, and that gave early impetus to the entity, and it has served us well. The fact it has served us well is beyond question. We prepared a package to set the foundation for today's discussion, the movement from EPOC now to the IFC, and then we'll get into the details of what EPOC did and the shape that it has left the country in. Is Jamaica in a better place for having EPOC? The 11-year journey has been good, and well, I'll say it early, the country is much better off for EPOC having been created. But let's take this package first.
The Yuletide season is upon us, and it looks like Santa's journey gift buying in Jamaica might be facing some inflation as the price of food has increased, along with some other basic commodities, while the consumer's pockets might be in pain. However, not all is grim for Jamaica's economic outlook, as our macroeconomic indicators continue to show resilience. Despite the recent revelations of little to no growth in the economy, largely attributed to Hurricane Beryl, unemployment still remains low, and there is still a sense of order in Jamaica's economic policy and administration. This is a far cry from the period of the 70s to even the 2000s, where glimmers of growth were ransacked and the pockets of many were fin-sacked, where Jamaica was known for sun, sea, sand, and economic mismanagement. The second decade of the 2000s saw a turnaround in Jamaica's economic track record, and a part of that repair of Jamaica's reputation regarding fiscal management has been the Economic Program Oversight Committee, established in 2011 to provide oversight for the government's program with the International Monetary Fund. EPOC's successful implementation of the country's economic reform programs, comprised of key stakeholders from government, the private sector, and civil society. EPOC monitors and assesses Jamaica's economic performance, offering transparent reports on fiscal policy, public debt management, and sustainable growth. EPOC has overseen massive debt to GDP reduction starting under the stewardship of Dr. Peter Phillips, and also massive public sector transformation under former Finance Minister, now Deputy Managing Director of the IMF, Dr. Nigel Clark. How has the IMF graded Jamaica? Well, the IMF publicly lauded the work of Dr. Phillips and his team for their management of the Jamaican economy, and as for Dr. Clark, well, they offered him a job. 3 finance ministers, 2 Bank of Jamaica governors, and a Jamaica with growth and stable macroeconomic indicators. Are we finally getting economic policy right? Well, we discuss with outgoing members of EPOC here on Lead Story.
Yeah, more to the point, 4 finance ministers, because before EPOC's time ended, Favour Williams was sworn in to serve and to manage the country's thread bag. More on the Lead Story after these.
HIV affects everyone. Truth is, avoiding care leads to a weaker immune system. That means you could get really sick. The truth is, the hardest pill to swallow isn't the medication. It's the problems that follow when you don't take them. Let's get through this together. Remain in care. You can live life to the fullest with HIV. And that's the truth. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Christmas a come go down a Bashko. 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 We go down to Bashko. With a light and Christmas tree. Gifts for the family. Pop some pan feeding up on Christmas Day. So for your decorations go down a Bashko. Matching sheet and curtains go down a Bashko. Something for everyone go down a Bashko. Christmas a come go down a Bashko.
Back with Lead Story here on CVM TV on this Wednesday. It feels like Friday, but there are still 2 days to go in this working week. The fact is that EPOC was assigned to do a job, and the success of that job cannot be questioned. I have 2 men with me who, in concert with their colleagues, really provided the kind of oversight needed at that level. Keith Duncan, the former leader of EPOC, and one of his key lieutenants, Donovan Wignall, who also served with distinction on EPOC. Good evening, Donovan.
Hi, good evening, George. Good evening to your viewers.
Excellent.
Good evening, Keith.
Good evening, Donovan, man. Good to hear you, my friend.
Good. You were telling me off air, Keith Duncan, about how the seed for EPOC was planted, and I needed to tell the viewers on air.
No audio.
So, we have had quite a number of failed IMF programs. And Jamaica could just not stick to its commitments, its fiscal and monetary commitments, could not stick to policy commitments. And as a result, what we had was very volatile markets, inflation through the roof, exchange rate moving all over the place, and in interest rates hiking up, and and really it created a very unstable environment, and our debt level soared. And while I am CEO of JMB, at JMB we decided that we were agitated to have some level of oversight, and we put it in the public domain. We need oversight, all right, of the economic reform program. We need the data, we need to manage. And JMB even started to put out quarterly, progress reports on how the program was doing. And this was prior to EPOC, right? This was in the IMF agreement that Aldershaw signed.
Yes.
I think it was the extended fund agreement.
Yes, the EFF,
in 2010.
Yes.
And so we failed that IMF program because we were just not making the commitments.
Yeah, we abandoned it because
we abandoned it, and then 2012 comes out, and the PNP wins the election. Portia Simpson Miller is in, Dr. Peter Phillips is in, and we had a debt swap, and this is after the debt swap in NDX that we had asked for oversight. So there's another debt swap because we failed that that first program. So there's another debt swap, NDX.
Yeah, JDX was first, NDX was second.
So NDX, no, so therefore the financial institutions had to sign off and agree to swap their debt, along with Jamaicans, bondholders, to swap their debt for new debt, right, at lower interest rates. So we had the handle and somebody else had the blade.
Yes.
So Dr. Peter Phillips had the blade and we had the handle because he needed our signature, and this was a conditionality for the IMF program.
Yes.
So, so we sat, and there was myself and Bruce Bowen in a meeting with Dr. Phillips, and I said, Dr. Phillips, we do need an oversight committee, or we're not signing that debt swap tomorrow.
And in point of fact, Bruce Bowen was with Scotiabank at the time?
Yes.
Right.
He was MD at Scotiabank at the time. And he said, okay, Keith, go ahead and set up the oversight committee. We wrote the terms of reference that night. For EPOC. I called up Mark Harrison of blessed memory, who was JMB's attorney at the time, and he called in what's the attorney? Mike Hilton. And Mike Hilton, and we framed it that night in my kitchen, framed it, conference call on the phone, wrote MOU, went down to the Ministry of Finance the following morning,
and
signed the agreement for the EPOC. And Dr. Phillips worked with us and to say he wanted to have representation from civil society, agriculture, small business. That's right, how Donovan got there, Donovan Wignall, private sector, the four financial institutions, and the unions. And we all sat there. Richard Byles became the first chairman of EPOC, and he did a stellar job of marshalling and monitoring the oversight of the first economic reform program. And Dr. Peter Phillips worked very well with EPOC at the time.
Donovan, is your audio sorted out? Are you hearing me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear. And just tell Keith that Brian Winter, I think, was the first chair.
No, Richard Byles co-chaired with Brian Winter.
Yeah.
Brian
Winter was the governor, and Richard Byles represented the civil society.
There you go. Here we go now, Donovan. Here's the thing. So after that very important grounding of how EPOC started, I remember as a journalist sitting at Jamaica House when Dr. Peter Phillips hosted a press conference where he said that the negotiations that he had just led to get us to the point of that new IMF deal, he wouldn't wish those negotiations on any other Jamaican. It was humiliating. It was almost dehumanizing what Jamaica had to go through. And he didn't want the country to be in this position ever again. And then came EPOC. I'm suggesting to you, Donovan, and I want to hear you on this. If the fact of this bottoming out then of the economy, this point that we couldn't sink any lower, and the importance of success this time, that those imperatives helped to make EPOC necessary and helped EPOC to be successful. That's how I read it. How do you read it from a person who has served on the body since inception?
Yeah, it was just the same, exactly as you said it. We set, I think Dr. Peter Phillips, along with the team, we set our own objectives. We knew exactly what the country needed at that time. The objectives were set, the macro objectives, the fiscal rules, fiscal management. And once those were in place, and once everybody was on board, we proceeded along those lines to ensure that the rules that were set were followed. They were reported on at every meeting. Whatever recommendations needed to have been made, they were made. The IMF came at regular intervals to look at the progress we had made up to the points that they came. And of course, they gave the commendations and whatever needed to be adjusted from time to time. Some of the rules were very stringent, and we asked for easement at some end. The IMF relented, and we proceeded along the lines. But I think one comment that was made, I think, I don't remember if it was Peter Phillips or Keith said that there's only one way to go, and that is up. And we did actually went up from there, and we saw Jamaica came into a different level, a different time, a different series of fiscal management, which right now, testament to the success, you can pretty much see it and hear from the IMF where we were.
Absolutely so.
And current, I know.
And among the things that the IMF had to, we requested the IMF granted us room to ease the primary surplus target. I remember those very well. But here's the thing now, Keith.
Right.
Here's the thing now. For me, EPOC's success is not evidenced solely in the fact that the slackness that used to pervade in government can't happen. For me, the success is in the fact that the temptation for slackness, there's not even that temptation there.
Yes. And exactly because we have structural benchmarks, we have quantitative performance criteria that must be made because there are fiscal rules that are in place in terms of what kind of deficit you can run or not run. Or you must run a fiscal surplus. You must reduce your debt by a certain percentage every year.
Yes.
And that's why we're able to get to a 68% debt to GDP ratio now. And therefore the program in terms of the policy commitments to establish an independent central bank where the politicians don't control the printing of money because printing of money is inflationary and to set a low and stable inflation target range of 4 to 6% and assiduously work to be within that range and to set up the independent fiscal commission, which rule is to ensure that we remain fiscally responsible and we follow the rules and guidelines of the fiscal responsibility framework. That architecture has been set up, and therefore we have matured as a country, and we don't necessarily need that civil society oversight. But we do have a fiscal advisory committee that will be in place to advise the fiscal commissioner. So we still do have some civil society representation.
I'm happy I live in a country where people can't look at the state of our financial structure and say we need checks and balances, because we have checks and balances.
At the macro level.
And at the macro level, we have checks and balances done over McDonald and Keith Duncan that work. I have to take the break. When I come back, I want to talk a little bit about the IFC, but I want to spend the bulk of the remaining time we have of talking about the issue of public sector wages and the danger that looms on the horizon as we go into an election year.
Carpet Store. We bring comfort to every step with flooring that blends softness and style. From carpets and rugs to durable vinyl flooring and expert installation services, we have everything you need to transform your space. And when it's time for a refresh, our carpet and upholstery cleaning service brings your flooring back to life. Visit us at 18 Dunbarton Avenue, Kingston. The Carpet Store, because you deserve the best.
These days, challenges are everywhere and things are constantly changing, but independent living remains the same. Rising above physical challenges, we can help you do it. For years, we have been Jamaica's trusted provider for solutions to improve patient care, safety, and general quality of life. No matter your age or your physical limitation, we are the caring store, waiting to serve you. It's time to experience independent living. Visit us today.
Back with us on Lead Story here. There are so many things to go into and so little time. Let's sprint right into it. The issue of wages is going to come.
Yes.
Just before we go to the wages, the debt to GDP target, the magic number is 68%. Yes?
That's where we are now.
I want to go to 60 first, so we have
Yes.
8 percentage points more
After
to work
years.
at. Here's the thing now. The issue is, some people say, look, that is overly ambitious. And for a country like ours, what the drive to get to 60 is doing is choking off capital supply to vital areas. They say, look, other countries, a similar profile like Jamaica, it's more relaxed and they are getting more funds to be unlocked for critical sectors of the society. And the fact is that funding is choked off in certain areas of the Jamaican society because of this dead aim at 60 and the almost obsession with dragging it down to that magic number. Other aspects of the finances are not being taken care of, don't have breathing room to flourish. I want to ask you about that quickly.
Well, quickly, let me answer that quickly. Firstly, the size of our economy. Jamaica's economy is small in relationship to even our peers. Trinidad, Barbados per capita, right? So the size of your economy determines how much economic activity you have and how much tax revenue you generate to be able to invest in capital expenditure, in programs, in education, in housing. The size of your economy generates economic activity to generate the tax revenues. So you can do those things.
Right.
Now, when we look at the debt to GDP, when we had our debt at 100%, it was consuming a whole lot more in terms of interest. Reducing the debt reduces the interest cost. The amount of interest you have to pay increases the confidence that people have in you in having lower debt, and they charge you lower interest rates, and you have less interest costs, less debt to service. It actually frees up space.
Yes.
So people think that you are not spending. You actually have more fiscal space, and as a result of having more fiscal space, in terms of more money to spend because you have less interest costs, right? What you now have is ability to pay the public sector workers higher wages, to invest in our national security architecture as we have done, $60 billion over there. How many years? Increase the spend in capital expenditure from where it was $20 billion to $67 billion this year. So we're doing more projects. You can see the infrastructure work that we're doing. We're doing more.
And to support your point, I would say that when I looked at a 20-year graph of the size of our external debt, the fact is that some countries are paying interest on debt denominated in their currency. We are paying interest on foreign denominated debt, which makes our problem more acute than
that's why
many
we have
places.
to maintain stability.
Here you go. Donovan, I've heard Keith opine on the issue of public sector wages. Another round of negotiations are upon us. We've seen one IMF agreement damaged or scuppered, to use the perfect analogy, scuppered by teachers and police going to court, winning a court battle to force the government to grant them the wage increase under the Golding administration. We've seen what wages can do to the very delicate dance that we're performing at the moment. Can we afford to open up the throttle where the negotiations are concerned to give the public sector workers a little bit more at this very delicate stage in an election year as a sweetener to win political support?
Well, like Keith, I heard caution. We have made some significant gains over the years. While we have not seen any significant policy in place to address the GDP side of the equation, we have to be cautious in going forward until we can grow GDP, until we can grow that side of the equation. I think we should seriously look at holding strain and work on the productivity of the country. If that is not fixed, we're going to find ourselves between a rock and a hard place in the near future. So we have to seriously put in some policies to improve our GDP performance.
Yeah, Keith, we're having this discussion the same day that Jerome Powell had a rate adjustment in the US. The UK Chancellor, the Office of National Statistics in the UK says, look, inflation is at an 8-month high. We can't afford to hold interest rates at we are best advised to hold it at the rate it is right now. With all those considerations, those headwinds in those major economies, do we have room to be a little more generous where wages are concerned for our public sector workers?
So this is where we are. Everyone wants to ensure that wages are competitive and we get the best wages we can get for public sector, for private
And that's the best
sector.
word, competitive.
Competitive.
Yeah.
When the public sector restructuring was done, the compensation review, it was set at 80% of the private sector.
Yes.
Now, everything comes down to the size of your economy and the revenues you
Comes
generate.
back to that, yes.
So if Jamaica generates, in this year, projected to generate $905 billion of revenue.
Yeah.
Of that $900 billion of tax revenue that we generate, we're going to pay $425 billion to the public sector. And we have interest costs of about 170 interest costs of about, in this year, of a interest cost of 183 billion. So 424 plus 183, that's $600 billion. Rest is left for programs, for education, for health.
Across the MDAs.
Across the MDAs for things that people really need.
Yes.
Infrastructure, that's the rest of the money that's left.
Yes.
So 45 cents out of every tax revenue dollar goes to the public sector. That's coming from $222 billion 3 years ago to $222 billion to 424. That's a big chunk. No, we need to manage that. If the economy grows and we can generate more tax revenues from greater economic activity, then the pie is greater. Then we have more to share across all the needs and that Jamaican people have. But we all have to come on board and say, this is where Jamaica is.
Yes.
This is what we can afford. And with us coming out of burial and the economy slowing and the higher interest rates, we have to manage ourselves very carefully because we don't want to get back into that position.
Yes. Donovan, the last word goes to you. The unions, will they bite when these things are put on the table? The raw numbers and the delicate dance that we are performing. I keep going to that line.
I think that will bite. I think based on the information that is being shared and based on the country's affordability, and seeing how transparent EPOC has been with the sharing of information with the union, I think it is going to be an easier sell, and the negotiations might not be as difficult as they were in the past. I think the government on a whole has to be a little bit more creative in how they engage the unions and the type of deals that they are going to cut. But definitely it's going to be a rough road ahead. But hopefully people can look at our current situation, look at where we are economically, and be a little bit more malleable as far as the negotiations are concerned. But it's doable.
Malleability is the key word. So from EPOC to IFC, oversight is necessary. We can oversee and manage our way to better days.
Absolutely.
But as the great Vin Edwards said to me, that outstanding racehorse trainer at Caymanas Park, he said to me years ago as a young man in racing, he said, George, whether you're running an economy or managing a household or running a country or managing a household, young man, it all comes back to the ability to pay. That's the most important thing. What is your ability to pay? Nothing is more important than that. And everything else germinates from that. And that's essentially what Keith Duncan is saying and Donovan Wigdon here on the program this evening. Thank you, gentlemen. Happy holidays to you. Thank you for your contribution to Lead Story over the year. And we look forward to more insightful discussion in 2025. That's my time. I make way now for the news at 7.
Shop, where the magic of Christmas comes to life one dish at a time. Now in the kitchen we have Chef Alex Shaw from Hungry Belly Catering. Every time I sit time, I have to smell time. Every time.
Up to the time.
He's getting ready to teach us how to make rosemary jerk baked chicken, gungo rice and peas, and mac and cheese, as well as some sauteed vegetables.
This episode of CVM Cook Shop is sponsored by Grange.
To the Voice Box Kids on CVM. To the Voice Box Kids on CVM. Not you, though.
This Christmas, we are bringing the taste of the season right into your home.
Ooh, now this is how you do a seafood broil. But don't worry, we'll show you how on CVM Cook Shop.
From your favorite Christmas recipes to all the holiday entertainment, stay locked in to CVM Television.
So from our CVM family to yours, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Get Sagicor School Companion Health Plan for as little as $2,540 per month. The time by Sagicor Life is
7 o'clock. CVM News at 7 Wednesday headlines, courtesy of Heart NSDA Trust, Jamaica's Human Development Agency.
Tonight in CVM News at 7, police making headway in Barbara Gayle murder. 2 killed in Manchester crashes amid holiday traffic surge. Talks begin in elder care law. And in the business report, Sagicor supports Rio Cobre water development. Also this evening, we're living the life with Curlin Brown. While in sports, CFU president confident of World Cup spots.
Wednesday headlines, courtesy of Heart NSDA Trust, Jamaica's Human Development Agency.
As a contractor, I never work without a plan.
As an electrician, protection is always a priority.
If you're a small business owner or an independent contractor, there's a plan that gives you protection and coverage. Sagicor Pro Shield. Get up to $1 million critical illness coverage and cover up to 80% of your medical costs for as little as $13,650 every 3 months. Get the protection you need with Sagicor Pro Shield. Call 888-SAGICOR. Conditions apply.
CVM News at 7 Wednesday, courtesy of
Your love lives on with life insurance from Sagicor.
From Kingston, Jamaica, this Wednesday, December 18, 2024. Thanks for making it CVM News at 7. I'm Nika Lewis. There has been a breakthrough in the case involving the murder of veteran journalist Barbara Gayle. Reports are that the alleged killer was found hiding in bushes in Grange Lane, St. Catherine this evening. When CVM News tried to contact the authorities, all calls went unanswered. Her stolen vehicle was, however, recovered on the Dyke Road in St. Catherine. And of course, we're asking anyone with information further to the matter to contact the nearest police station, Crime Stop at 311 or NIB at 811.
Well, a promise to our elders. That's how Senator Professor Floyd Morris described the effort to craft Jamaica's Elderly Care and Protection Act. The Special Select Committee tasked with shaping the landmark legislation held its first meeting on Wednesday, paving the way for a potentially historic shift in how Jamaica protects its aging population. With the details, here's Ramon Gordon.
Jamaica's birth rate has seen a sharp decline over the decades, leading to an aging population. The total fertility rate has dropped from 4.5 children per woman in the 1970s to 1.9 in 2021, below the replacement level of 2.1. While leaders race to find a solution to that crisis, legislators today commenced landmark talks on an Elderly Care and Protection Act.
Legislation is going to be so significant and historic. It is going to be touching on a large block of our population, our senior citizens, and we have to make sure that we put forward the best legislation.
The motion, unanimously approved in October, aims to address the neglect, disrespect, and lack of protection faced by over 350,000 Jamaicans classified as seniors, all of whom, regrettably, are now among the most vulnerable.
I'm here, but I am all over St. Catherine and St. Mary with my mind searching for my uncle who has dementia, and we have not been able to locate him from last week, Monday.
My goodness, I'm sorry to hear that.
And, that is one of the reasons why I am going to be very relentless in this.
The meeting focused on setting protocols, identifying stakeholders, and planning consultations to shape the comprehensive legal framework. Among those to be invited is the Caribbean Community of Retired Persons, CCRP. We spoke with its founder and CEO following the Senate committee meeting today.
Since 2017, we have been actively urging the government to create legislation to protect the elderly. There is financial abuse. Sadly, there is sexual abuse. But what we would really like to see is that this legislation is expedited and that there are very strong penalties for persons who abuse the elderly.
The committee plans to review existing laws to pinpoint gaps and explore improvements. Senator Dr. Sophia Longmore is urging the inclusion of mental health experts to address issues like depression, a call backed by Larry Chin.
There's a problem of loneliness. A lot of our elders, their family members are abroad, and so they're all alone. These WhatsApp messages are nice, but make the effort, please, if you are able to visit your elders, to hug them, to sit and talk with them, and to encourage the younger generation to listen to their stories, because they have so many great stories to tell.
The committee's work is expected to continue into 2025, with members aiming to submit recommendations that will guide the drafting of the legislation. Ramon Gordon, for CVM News.
Well, things are heating up as more environmental agencies join hands with Bogwalk residents' representative group, Friends of the Rio Cobre, to call out Tradewind Citrus Limited and NEPA after the agency dropped charges against the company for a breach of environmental laws. Today, these stakeholders hosted a media briefing where they aired concerns about the ongoing matter. Trisha Gay Kelly was in that meeting.
What should have been a deal between the National Environment and Planning Agency NEPA and Tradewind Citrus Limited is now in the open. The agreement follows NEPA's withdrawal of its charges against the Bogwalk-based company for an oil spill in the Rio Cobre in late 2023. Both sides had agreed not to disclose the terms of the settlement. If this is breached, either party could be sued. Additionally, the agreement forces NEPA to withdraw charges against Tradewinds for past incidents in the Rio Cobre and any future recurrence. This has caused an uproar among environmental agencies. On Wednesday, representatives voiced concerns about what they describe as injustice towards affected residents. Policy and advocacy specialist at Jamaicans for Justice, Jade Williams, said they are displeased with the agreement.
This clause represents a profound miscarriage of justice, in JFJ's opinion, as NEPA, which is the state agency charged with environmental protection and enforcement, has effectively negotiated away its legal obligation to hold Tradewinds Citrus Limited accountable in court. And this action was taken to the detriment of the affected communities, as we heard, critically without their knowledge or consultation. And this constitutes, in our opinion, a significant failure of NEPA's mandate and a direct assault on the principles of environmental justice.
The Friends of the Rio Cobre Association is now seeking higher levels of intervention. Attorney Dr. Marcus Goff said he has written to the Director of Public Prosecutions to look into the matter.
DPP has not given any timeline to us or the public, but we expect that she's working on it now at present. Actually, I wrote to the clerk of court in Spanish Town for a copy of the Tradewinds Citrus Limited file, and I was told that it's now at the DPP's office. And so we expect to hear back from her, I would say, perhaps in the first week or two of the new year.
Legal implications aside, there are some changes that the stakeholders are requesting. CEO at Jamaica Environment Trust, Dr. Theresa Rodriguez Moody, called for a review not only of NEPA's policies but also its board members. This, she suggested, is because the agency seems more economically minded than environmentally friendly.
The composition of the NRCA board also raises concerns, as only one member has any clear environmental background. This imbalance seems at odds with the board's mandate to oversee Jamaica's primary environment regulatory authority. NEPA's position seems to be that because Tradewinds did assist with the cleanup and because the oil spill did not cause a major fish kill, the company should suffer no further sanction.
Dr. Rodriguez Moody said this is not factual, reminding that though Tradewinds did not cause a fish kill, the entity still breached the Natural Resources Conservation Authority NRCA Act. Dr. Goff has also mentioned the possibility of a class action suit as the stakeholders continue to represent the impacted communities. Trisha Gay Kelly, CVM News.
CVM News at 7 continues in a moment.
Join my private room. Only $1,000 for a grand time.
That I know me. We never said that. But who going to believe me?
That is correct. $4,350,000. Yes, go ahead. $4 million? I never approved that.
Yes, me go doctor tomorrow. So me have to get the money today, no longer. Then no me face that. We never make no record or beg nobody no money.
Deepfakes are AI-generated images and videos made to look and sound like people we know and trust. They're used to spread misinformation, destroy reputations, and are used to commit fraud and scams. Don't fall victim to deepfakes. Protect yourself. For more information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or scan the QR code on screen.
Welcome to CVM Cook Shop, where the magic of Christmas comes to life one dish at a time. Now in the kitchen, we have Chef Alex Shaw from Hungry Belly Catering. Every time I sit time, I have to smell time, every time.
Up to the time.
He's getting ready to teach us how to make rosemary jerk baked chicken, gungo rice and peas, and mac and cheese, as well as some sautéed vegetables.
This episode of CVM Cook Shop is sponsored by Grace Foods and IGL.
IT! I'm IT.
This is mine?
I want that in the big letter road.
Where's the sleigh?
Good morning. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this.
Tamaiti Christmas in the Streets is brought to you by Flow, unwrapping holiday happiness. That's Christmasing.
Welcome back. Sustainable development expert and researcher Dr. Kadamawi Knife is urging the country's leaders to do more to allow Jamaicans access to the internet. He notes despite the continued push to get people in innovation and creation using technology and artificial intelligence, scammers remain well ahead of the average Jamaican in use and access of the internet.
After drafting and now revising Jamaica's micro, small and medium-sized enterprises MSME policy, there are several concerns that emerged for UWI Sustainable Development lecturer and researcher Dr. Kadamawi Knife. Knife sharply attacked the societal paradox in which leaders are often heard urging Jamaicans to create and innovate, start a business where possible so they can earn honestly, despite in some spaces little to no support and, importantly, limited, if any, access to the internet.
We know that if you're going to internationalize businesses, MSMEs, they need to be on a digital platform because a lot of the business is on a digital platform. The current generation of youths who are engaged in what is called the Generation Z, the I generation, and those after the Alpha generation, these are youths who are born at a time they're supposed to have full access to information. We are preparing these youths for a global market space that requires digitization. However, when they have the business, they have the product, they want them get it to the market. If they can't have a digital platform to market it, but the more important, they want them get the money. Which is a major concern now in the region.
He nipped at the misconception among many that because there is a proliferation of gadgets, including cell phones in the country, accessing the internet is as commonplace.
Now in the region, persons cannot get bank accounts that allow them to get foreign exchange with ease because of these things about the money laundering, etc., which are important considerations, but I'm saying the internet is a market space. And if these youths cannot afford to be in the market space or access the market space with ease, they're defeating the purpose. It's actually retarding the development of these persons. If you talk about access to digital technology again, reliability of energy is important. Electricity. Why am I going to tell a farmer that he must use a cell phone to do, internet banking, but him do have proper electricity supply up there either? When a natural hazards take place, how much months we have absence of light for in certain parishes because of Hurricane Beryl? What are those persons? What were they going to do?
The Sustainable Development Advocate is reiterating the need for Jamaica to get a grip on the technological side of life or be left with its blade, missing out on its benefits.
And there's a national program to spread this across the island. Yes. So we're not saying that there are not programs that are there, but even when you put systems in place, persons to get devices and all those things are going to be a cost. And we know what happens. See, the highest incidence of poverty in Jamaica tends to be in rural Jamaica. Yes. But those are persons who also have the least access to digital technology. So you don't have no income, you don't have no infrastructure, and therefore, while my son in Kingston or in a particular place can get access to information online, those persons are going to be left behind. And the same way it moves to education, is the same way it goes into business. That's why United Nations is saying when they talk about gender mainstreaming, that they want to provide simple, affordable technology to women to allow them to do their businesses.
As the nation's agricultural sector continues to recover from the impacts of Hurricane Beryl and Tropical Storm Raphael, more weather events are expected. Adrian Williams tells us more about what to expect.
The country's agricultural sector took a major hit after Hurricane Beryl in July and further disruption by Tropical Storm Raphael in November. The expectation for 2025, however, is on the other end of the spectrum with drought. Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining, Floyd Green, explains what is expected during this time.
We've already started to prepare for what we expect will be a dry quarter in January to March. So unfortunately, we're going to go from rain to drought. And as such, we've already started to procure. We're spending $120 million to procure small irrigation kits that we will be distributing in the first quarter of 2025. So we can help our farmers withstand any dryness that comes in that first quarter. So
Though the El Niño weather pattern, which had a significant waning effect on the Earth in 2023 and 2024, is expected to be less, the minister is pushing for better climate-resilient infrastructure.
So we're going to be focusing on strengthening our resilience. more climate smart technologies, greater irrigation systems, again, continuing to organize around disaster preparedness. Additionally, we've been expanding our network of retention ponds, and thankfully we did some last year and they've come into play. So in areas like Hindstown, again, the significant rainfall that we saw, a lot of that has gone into the retention pond, so they now have that water to treat with during the dry period that we expect.
Green believes the sector will get back to pre-hurricane levels.
We do expect that over the next 4 to 6 months, we will see our production get back to pre-hurricane levels. And that is once we don't have any significant weather events.
Over 30,000 farmers have benefited from the Hurricane Beryl recovery efforts so far. Adrian Williams reporting for CVM News.
CVM News at 7 continues in just a moment.
What up, baby? Cake smell nice. Perk? How will me look at bonus day? I put you say me I'm home pan computer. What kind of Christmas you have where you can't even touch your friend them?
Grandma, not like back in your days. Boring.
Little boy, don't make me have to beam you back to earth. You know, back in my days, we used to have fun. We used to gather together in the district and ramp. At least me could have touched my friend them, and we used to blow the fifi.
Grandma, what is fifi?
Little boy, come help me decorate the place before your parents come for you. Come.
Grandma, you know what I want for Christmas? I want the iPhone 16 Pro and an Xbox Series.
Why? Uno nowadays pick me. Come we go take a selfie.
Grandma, you know about selfie?
Of course we know about selfie.
Make this season one to remember. Sharing love and laughter. Merry Christmas from Bank of Jamaica.
It's been 3 years.
Come on, Dee. I have it. Let's go. My baby. Son of my baby. Oh my goodness. Them feeding you over there though? Your favorite. Welcome home, son.
This is home.
Thanks for staying with us. 2 families in St. Andrews South are celebrating a life-changing milestone thanks to a government initiative aimed at supporting the nation's most vulnerable. The multi-million-dollar project is providing hope and shelter just in time for the holidays. Shante McNeil has the details.
Eleanor White and Carmel Maxwell are the newest homeowners in St. Andrews South, receiving keys to their furnished 2-bedroom houses on Monday, a multi-million-dollar project funded by the government's Indigent Housing Program. The program, implemented by the Municipal Corporation and funded by the Ministry of Local Government, seeks to address the housing needs of the poor. Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie shared the features of the new units.
The 2 units that have been constructed are 2 bedrooms, and they have been built at a cost of a little under $19 million for both units. And there are 2 bedrooms, bathrooms, toilet, kitchen.
Minister Mackenzie expressed confidence in the beneficiaries' ability to maintain the homes, emphasizing that the houses were built with care and love.
We have not had any abuse of any of these units that we have been building since 2016, and I think that is very commendable. I am pretty confident that the individuals will take pride in the units.
Opposition leader and Member of Parliament Mark Golding says these homes, done by local contractors, are welcomed Christmas gifts, transforming the lives of the beneficiaries.
And I remember the first time I met you, and I was passing through Beresford Street, and I came to see you, and I saw the living condition that you were in at the time, and I said, we have to do something about this. And took a few years, but here we are, and you'll be given access to the house today officially, and it's a nice Christmas present for you and Carmen.
Golding also expressed optimism about more of these initiatives in the near future.
We would love to be able to do this kind of thing for many more, because the need is there, we know that. But we can only do what is available to us through the channels of the government, whether it be through the HOPE program or in this case through the local government program. So we will continue to press, and the minister has had a conversation, so we hope to see some future activity.
Overcome with tears of joy and a mixture of excitement for the future, the beneficiaries expressed their gratitude.
When I'm old, I never get a house, and since I'm young, I get a two-bedroom house. So I thank you. In Jesus' name, and I eat enough oxtail in my new house. I say thanks, and I wish for you and me a Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year.
Shante McNeil, CVM News.
Touching. We now check in on social media.
So, what's trending in our local social media spaces? Matthew Hyde, who is 22 years old, has been sentenced to 13 years and 9 months for abducting and brutally assaulting his ex-girlfriend over 3 days, pleading guilty to multiple charges. Here are some of your reactions. At Keygorn33 writes, enough time for him to reflect on his behavior. At Deem Banton shares, a warning to anyone thinking of harming women. At 876 Arsenal says, considering his guilty plea, this sentence seems manifestly excessive and will most likely be reduced upon appeal. At Shin_Ice posts, dash away a future cause you can't control your emotions. At Rudeboy969 comments, on behalf of all fathers of girls, Merry Christmas, you got what you deserved. At Hardly.OK adds, I'm actually surprised he got this much time, if any at all. At Roger_Goodwill writes, first-time offender, 13 years is a bit too excessive, destroyed his own life. And that's what's trending online today. Continue to share your thoughts with us on X at CVM TV and CVM_television on Instagram. I'm Courtney Lewis.
We take another break. Stay with us.
It's been 3 years.
Come on, Dee. I have it. Let's go.
Oh, my baby. Son of my baby. Oh, my goodness. Them feeding you over there, though? Your favorite. Welcome home, son.
This is home.
Welcome to CVM Cook Shop, where the magic of Christmas comes to life one dish at a time. Now in the kitchen, we have Chef Alex Shaw from Hungry Belly Catering. Every time I sit time, I have a smell time, every time.
Up to the time.
He's getting ready to teach us how to make rosemary jerk baked chicken, gungo rice and peas, and mac and cheese, as well as some sauteed vegetables.
This episode of CVM Cook Shop is sponsored by Grace Foods and IGL.
Win a bag of things valued at over $400,000 with Digicel. When you gift your loved ones a 7-day plan for just $1,100 in My Digicel, share one more gift, one more moment, one more smile. Digicel, better connected this Christmas.
IT! I'm IT.
This is mine?
I want that in the middle of the road.
Where's the sleigh?
Good morning. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this.
Tamaiti Christmas in the Streets is brought to you by Flow, unwrapping holiday happiness. That's Christmasing.
Christmas is the season to share with the delicious Hut's holiday treat from Pizza Hut. One large pepperoni, Hawaiian, vegetarian, or barbecue chicken pizza. One family serving of cinnamon sticks, cheese sticks, or breadsticks, and a 2-liter Pepsi. Share the joy with a Hut's holiday treat from Pizza Hut. Now that's delivering.
Crunch the holidays, however you want. KFC, it's finger-licking good. The time by KFC is...
We welcome you back with the business report from Joel Crosskill.
Lots to share with you in the business report today. A project that is set to significantly improve the availability of potable water in Jamaica has tapped into a new stream of funding that will ultimately provide the National Water Commission NWC with up to 15 million imperial gallons daily to service the Kingston metropolitan area, or approximately 27% of the total required supply for the KSA. When ground was broken for the build-out of the Rio Cobre water treatment plant at Content District St. Catherine on March 14, few could have predicted the composition of the loan syndicate that would eventually fund the project. However, on Friday, December 13, Sagicor Bank became the only local commercial bank involved in the agreement to provide debt financing for the major work, alongside key partners in the $92.2 million project, which is being executed with financing of up to $66 million from IDB Invest, Proparco, and the Development Bank of Jamaica DBJ, whose acting managing director, David Wan, gushed over the potential of the PPP.
The Rio Cobre Water Limited public-private partnership is a revolutionary public-private partnership in Jamaica. It's going to supplement the water supply for the Kingston and surrounding areas.
President and CEO of Sagicor Group Jamaica, Christopher Zakal, says this project is a perfect example of how the private sector must support the government in improving Jamaica's infrastructure development, noting that it will benefit the lives of more than 600,000 Jamaicans. A point that was supported by Timothy Del Bar, country manager of Vinci Construction Grand Projects, a global leader in large-scale infrastructure engineering, who will be responsible for the construction as well as the operation of the plant once it's commissioned.
This water will serve part of St. Catherine, mainly Spanish Town, Portmore, and the western half of Kingston for direct supply, and will benefit indirectly to the rest of the broader Kingston metropolitan area for all people living or working within this area. We carried out the preliminary designs already, and now we're in the phase of implementing detailed design. When then that is finished, we follow by the construction aspects of it. Detailed design and construction is scheduled to take 24 months from beginning until the end. So 24 months from the beginning of designs, we will be able to provide potable water in the system, and people should see directly an improvement in the quantity and the quality of the water supply.
The NWC will purchase water in line with a purchase agreement which has been entered into between the NWC and a new entity, Rio Cobre Water Limited, which will become the concessionaire for the water treatment facility until it's handed over to the NWC at the expiration of the water purchase agreement.
Revolutionary in that water infrastructure is going to be expanded without any expenditure by the government. So we are very excited about this, and we think it is a model that can be replicated for other infrastructure